Is being recorded. All right. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking your lunch hour to join us for this Lean Six Sigma Green Belt information session. We're really excited about this new program and look forward to telling you a little bit about it. All right, next. All right, so today's agenda. So I'm going to spend just a second doing introductions, letting you know kind of who's involved in this initiative and who you can reach out to, who your program contacts are. Going to go over the program so you understand what it is and what it isn't and how you can go about taking part in it. Talk a little bit about how to apply and enroll. And then we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. So you are welcome to submit your questions as we go along in the Q&A box. My colleagues will try to respond to them as we go, but also rest assured we are going to do a dedicated Q&A at the end. I expect the session to run about 45 minutes. So if you want to check out at the end because all your questions have been answered, no problem. We will be following up the information session with an email referencing a lot of the links and such that we talked about in the presentation. So don't feel you have to write everything down as well. All right, next. Okay, so here's our immediate team. I'm Michelle Dowling. I'm the program manager in the business unit responsible for the Lean Six Sigma program. And I'm joined by Jennifer Knudsen. She's the team's program representative. And Jen's the person you'd really be hearing from and reaching out to if you decide to enroll in the program, talk to you about logistics and access and other types of things. And then we're really happy to be joined by Sonia Singh. Sonia is the instructor in the program. And Sonia is a certified Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt. She's also a certified professional coach. And she also teaches in our executive leadership program. So Sonia brings a lot of experience and knowledge to the program and has taught this course before. And so we're really excited to have her on board. And Sonia's going to be chiming in as we go through the presentation, kind of adding her perspective to things and letting you know a little bit about what she looks for in her students when she runs the course. All right, next. So I always like to start off my information sessions with a poll. I want to get to know you so I know who I'm talking to and I don't bore you with things you already know. So the question I'd like to ask you all is, how much experience do you already have with process improvement or Lean Six Sigma? There is no wrong answer. Our programs are generally offered to everyone, but it helps me gauge how much context to give you all as we go through this presentation. So I'll just give everyone a minute to fill that out. And we have a pretty good big group, so I want to give everyone enough time. All right, Bridget, why don't we see what results we have? All right. Okay, this is helpful. So it looks about a third of you are new. So that's exciting. I think you probably think you're new. And as I talk more about it, you're going to realize that you know a little bit more about what we're doing, what Lean Six Sigma is about than you realize. You just probably didn't know that there was actually a whole methodology around it. And then it looks about 60% of you have some experience, but not necessarily formal training. That's great. And then a few of you, almost 10%, are highly experienced. And I have to admit, I took a peek at the attendance list before we started, and I saw some folks who I recognized as business analysts and other folks who have done some of our other business analyst programs. So I know that you folks do this every day. So that's really great. All right, thank you, Bridget. We'll go to next. So just to give a brief overview for those of you who are new. So Lean Six Sigma is basically a systematic method that helps improve processes as an organization, standardize business operations, so reducing variation to make things more efficient, and ultimately it helps achieve improved productivity and profitability. So this course is aimed at people who are interested in earning their green belt. And so as a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, it offers you the opportunity to be involved in your organization's process improvement initiatives. You would have the knowledge and skills you need to help select or define projects, to identify program objectives, determine how you're going to collect the data, and really implement change in your organization. And it also offers you the tools and techniques you need to address a variety of situations. Like any management methodology, Lean Six Sigma is not a straight formula. It's a little bit of an art and a science. And so you're going to have this toolkit, but you're going to need to know how to apply it in different situations. And so that's what working with a master black belt like Sonia will allow you to do, is she's going to offer theory, but she's also going to offer practical cases and other guidance on how to know when to use different aspects of this discipline. All right, next. So a lot of people want to know, well, who should attend? Who's this intended for? So what we're looking at is a wide variety of people, but primarily those involved or having access to operations, programs, process improvement. So we're looking at leaders in organizations, but also mid-level managers, project, program, operations managers, analysts of all kinds. Obviously business analysts are naturals for something like Lean Six Sigma, but also financial analysts, management analysts, even people who might be involved in industrial engineering operations. And ultimately, we are continuing education. We try to be open to all. So we're also open to people just wanting experience in education and process improvement methods. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later, but this particular program is unique in that in addition to being a training course, it also uses an actual live project as part of the curriculum. And that's why I really want to make sure we're clear about who we're inviting to attend, because you will want to have access to an actual work project. So if you're not currently working and you don't have a project in mind, that's something that we'll want to talk about. All right, next. So there's a lot of benefits to this program. We're really excited about the curriculum. So one of the elements of this that I really like is the immediate applicability. And that's because, like I mentioned, you will be using a real live project of your own as you go through the course. And so you really get to immediately see the practical application of this methodology that we're teaching. As I mentioned, you'll get access to an expert in the field, as I said, a certified master black belt, Lean Six Sigma, someone with a lot of experience, not just teaching it, but actually doing it themselves. Sonia has years of experience in healthcare and other industries and has seen this methodology applied. And again, these are proven techniques. There's a lot of management theory out there, a lot of trends, and this one is tried and true. This has been used for some time and that people have really seen results. And so it's exciting to be able to share it with you in your various industries. And then the other nice thing about our program is that we do offer a digital badge, a green belt badge in Lean Six Sigma upon successful completion of the program. And the badge is kind of the trend of the future. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's basically a certification from a recognized organization, Credly, where you can use it on your LinkedIn profile, on your signature block. You don't need to have a transcript. You don't need to constantly, as you move around in your career, it's something that can easily go with you. All right, next. So Sonia did a great job developing this kind of overview of what to expect. She's taught this course quite a bit, and she's noticed that sometimes people, even who are familiar with these areas, get a little tripped up on what Lean Six Sigma is. So there's Lean and there's Six Sigma, and this course integrates both, and it's very heavy on Lean. And so these are just a selection of things that Sonia will cover in the course. Next, Bridget. But what is not included is heavy statistical analysis, and that would be kind of what I would call pure Six Sigma. So for those of you who are looking for that, this may not be the best match. Sonia, what would you like to add to that?
Yeah, if you click on to the next, there we go. So this program is really going to focus on small incremental improvement versus big breakthrough complex projects. And since the program is 3 months long, we want you to start and complete your project during that time. So we want to make sure that the scope is small enough and that it's something that is manageable. The change is manageable. So we really want to focus on small incremental improvement, and therefore we actually are not going to focus too much on statistical analysis, although we will require some data so we know that there's some improvement made.
Oh, great. Okay, next slide. So because this course does award a digital badge at the end, and because we want to make sure you leave with comprehension, this does have, there is an obligation on you as the student. This is an interactive course. This is not a passive training that you just sit and listen to Sonia lecture and then walk away with maybe a little bit of memory. This is actually hands-on work. And so we do ask, we have 7 live sessions over the 14 weeks. We do ask that you plan to attend all the live sessions. We understand life happens. We do have an adjustment. People are allowed, up to one absence. Things come up. But I mention this because I really want you to look over the schedule before you enroll. And if you have a standing meeting on Wednesday mornings, or if you know you have a huge 3-week trip and you're going to miss multiple classes, this may not be the time or the program for you. We obviously want to work with you, but we really want you to make the commitment to attend the sessions in advance. We also ask that you complete all the homework. So throughout the course, as Sonia guides you through different things, she's going to assign assignments, and they're going to be primarily surrounding the live project you're working on as part of the course. We do ask that you perform that work to the best of your ability and that you demonstrate comprehension. For most working professionals, 75% achievement is not difficult. That basically means you understood and made the effort to demonstrate it. But we do have to have that threshold because it is important, if you're going to be earning a certification, that you really did demonstrate full comprehension. This course is not academic. There's not academic credit associated with it, but Sonia does use grades and a grade book so that you can see how you're doing. And she'll also offer feedback and talk with you, respond to your assignments to get you back on course. This is not meant to be a gotcha. It's meant to be guidance. But we do kind of do grades just to have a benchmark so you can see where you're going. We also have deadlines. This course, the curriculum builds on itself. So it's really important that you complete the assignments in the time that they're due and when Sonia is covering that element of the material. Again, we know life happens, but as with any of our classes, we really expect you to coordinate with Sonia in advance if you are going to miss a deadline. And then she can work with you on the significance of that or how you might be able to provide the information later. But we're pretty strict about the due dates because it really gets things off track. We've learned from experience, it doesn't go well when people start to miss the deadlines and try to do everything at the end. It also inhibits the instructor's ability to give you accurate feedback and to participate in the discussion with your peers. And so it's really important. And so there may be times, where if you turn it in late, you may still get credit, but you're not going to get Sonia's feedback on what you got right and where you're off course. And so it's really important to stick with the agenda. And then, of course, you need to complete a project. That's an integral part of the curriculum. And we'll talk about that more a little later. And I'm happy to talk with anyone one-on-one, but that is something that is expected as part of the course to successfully earn the Green Belt badge. All right, next. So I'm not going to completely cover the course schedule because it is on our website, and I'll provide that link later on. But I did just want to let you know there are, again, 7 live Zoom sessions. So it's all online, but it is live. And those are on Wednesday morning starting February 23rd, basically roughly every other Wednesday morning. We've learned a lot from past cohorts. And so we've designed it so that the live sessions are a mix of lecture, interactive activities, and hands-on tasks, so you can really drive home what you're learning, and then mentoring sessions or office hours. And so sometimes you may feel in a really good place on your project, and so you might be able to leave a little early. Other times you want to be there the whole time to take advantage of Sonia and your peers' expertise. In between the live sessions, there's going to be self-study, and that's when you do your project work. I would say the overall time commitment, when you add up the live Zoom sessions and the work you'll be doing on your own, you should plan on spending about 30 to 40 hours over the 14 weeks. Now that's going to vary depending on the complexity of your project, depending on how much experience you have, things like that. But I want you to go into this knowing the expectations. I think that's really the key. We want you to be successful. And so knowing the expectations is the first step. All right, next. So I'm going to turn this one over to Sonia. Sonia's done a wonderful job outlining the curriculum. Sonia, what types of things would you like to highlight in this kind of overreaching schedule of the program?
Sure. So as you can see, the course is 14 weeks long, and every other week we'll have a live session. And you can see we start off with kicking off the session, we'll have a little orientation. We'll start talking about project scoping, and the very first session is really helping you identify which project you're going to select. So we want you to think about that before you come to the first session, but we will help you to select that first project. And then we'll go through the DMAIC process, the Lean Six Sigma framework, which is define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And so every live session will cover what goes into that phase, and we'll talk about the tools, the methods that go into each one of those phases. And in between, we have self-study, and you'll have assignments during that time. And then at the end, you do have a couple of weeks to take all of your assignments, pull them all together, because they all will help you with your project. They're all related to your project. So you want to take a couple of weeks at the end, between weeks 12 and 14, to pull your project together, and then you'll deliver your final project presentation on week 14. And so up at the top in the light blue, those are live sessions. And then in the green, that's the self-study.
Great. All right, next slide. So Sonia's done a great job of offering some guidance to help you as you think about what project to identify. So Bridget, if you'll go ahead and click through, I'm going to let Sonia kind of highlight the things she's learned from past classes, what students really need to think about when they pick their project.
Yeah, so if you're wondering what makes a good lean project or Lean Six Sigma project, especially for this particular class, since we have 3 months together, we want to make sure that you're focused on something where you have data available around reducing a wait time or reducing number of steps, where you're trying to improve quality. So you might be reducing number of defects, number of complaints, or trying to free up capacity. So anytime any project or any process where you're trying to improve quality or you're trying to reduce wait times and improve efficiency, those are really the two areas that we're trying to look at, either improve efficiency or improve quality.
Next.
So another thing for you to think about is who are the key stakeholders that would be involved in this project, or who would be impacted by the work that you're potentially looking at improving? And is the organization ready for these changes? Are the stakeholders ready to take on the changes? So you really to do a little assessment of, okay, are we ready to take on this specific project? It might be a fantastic project idea, but it may not be the right time. So definitely take a little inventory around the readiness of your organization. And then think through what is the performance measure that you might want to think about. So think about, back to the first bullet. If you're looking at wait times, you want to make sure that you have metrics available around how long do people wait, or how many steps are there in the process? How many different handoffs are there in your process? If you have defects, how are you going to measure those defects? Costs. So if you're trying to reduce costs, do you have a way to measure what the current costs are and how you're going to potentially look at return on investment after your project is done? What evidence indicates that there's a problem? So this goes back to the data. Data is very important. So make sure that you're looking at a process where either data is available or you can easily go and collect the data. Sometimes you'll have a problem, it's a perceived problem, but you don't have necessarily data that's available to you to know for sure that, yes, this is in fact a problem and this is the magnitude, but you do need to have the ability to go and collect that data to make sure that there's evidence of the problem and the magnitude of that problem. Another thing to think about is, do you have the authority or the ability to influence the changes that you want to make? So this is very important. So whether you have the authority or you have the support from a sponsor who is there to say, yes, these are changes that we are going to make that come out of this project. This is really important to the success of your work. So make sure you're selecting a project and you have the support that you need in your organization to actually implement the changes from your project.
Right. Let's go to the next slide. So Sonia also identified a couple storyboard examples that I think are really helpful. They're a little dense, but Sonia, what would you like to highlight on these?
Sure. So these are just two examples of two project storyboards. And this is basically what we come up with at the end of that, at the end of the training, at the end of the project, you complete an executive summary that looks like this. And this particular project is actually, we're going to have the person who led this project is going to share a little bit about her experience. But this is just to give you an idea of what types of projects are done in this type of setting. So this particular one was looking at the gift processing process at a university, and they were looking at reducing overhead costs related to supplies and inventory. And so they put some things in place, some solutions in place to reduce that cost. And they were able to track on an ongoing basis, month to month basis, how they were able to reduce the cost related to those supply costs.
And there's one more, Bridget.
Here's another one, and this one was looking at standardizing a process. So this was a particular process, a business systems process that did not have standards in place. And so there were many different ways, there's lots of variation. And so this particular project looked at standardizing a process, so instead of 5 different ways of handling a process, there's now one way to handle that process. So these are just some examples of what types of potential projects you might want to think about for yourself.
Great. And someone just asked in the chat if there's more information that we can provide on examples of projects and what we look for in a project. And I wanted to let you all know that Sonia and I are working on actually developing some guidance, whether a video or a document that we will share with prospective students so that they can have a better sense on how to pick the best project. All right. So I'd like to do another poll. So now that we've talked a little bit about what an ideal project would look like for this class, I'd like to ask you all if you have potential projects in mind. Again, not a right or wrong answer, but it helps us know how much more guidance to offer you folks on identifying projects. Now, some people have already applied for the program and they had a project right off the bat. They knew what they wanted to do. But we realized that for others of you who are new to this process, you're going to need a little more time and guidance, and that's fine. So I'm going to give people a moment. We're going to pop that poll up. Should be coming.
Bridget, do you need me to share the poll?
It's not allowing me to.
Oh, no.
So if we want to move on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not allowing me to bring it up. So
Okay.
sorry.
We'll talk about that a little bit more in the Q&A. All right. So next slide, I'm really excited today to have a previous graduate of the program here with us today. Ari did the program just last summer, and she did a really wonderful project as part of the class. And so, Ari, I wanted to ask you to talk a little bit about the project you did as part of the class and what your experience in the class was like. So welcome.
Yeah, I feel like the first and foremost thing that you can do to set yourself up for success in the class is to be very thoughtful about your process improvement project. I think back to the initial conversations that I had with Sonia, and I bounced around a couple of ideas that I had, but it was really helpful for me to sit down with her and hone in on what are the metrics that we can gather and look at to assess the current state and to show improvement. So I actually think that those initial conversations, at least for me, were very transformative in being able to get buy-in from my stakeholders too, just to be able to go over like our current state and some goals that we were looking to achieve for the project. At least, so for me, I think it's already been touched upon, but the class builds on itself. So completing the assignments, like every single assignment that we worked on in the class was towards that bigger final project, which was really great because it's not something that I've experienced in other classes before, where you're not doing filler assignments just to assess your knowledge. Like you're really working on documents that are going to be used towards your final project. So I kept revisiting all of my earlier assignments that I completed, just because I felt like after the deadlines were over and the assignments had been graded, when I was thinking about my final project, there were things that came up in my head as aha moments that I wanted to improve upon in my assignments.
You've talked a little bit about this area, but just when you look back, what would you say was the most beneficial or rewarding part of the course?
I mean, like right off the top of my head, the biggest reward was being able to start and complete a project that would deliver cost and time and resource savings benefits to my organization. Beyond the obvious deliverables of that project, I gained a new way of thinking about things. Instead of just fixating on what the problem is or what the defect is, going through the like Lean Six methodology and figuring out like how do you identify possible solutions and document those.
Mm-hmm. So now that you've gone through the program and you had about 20 people in your class, you got to see how they went through the program. What kind of advice or guidance would you have for prospective students considering the program?
Yeah, definitely understand the time commitment required for this class. I think both of you have touched upon this very well, in that it's not a passive learning experience. There are lectures, but the lectures help prime you for completing the assignments. And there are quizzes too. So understand that there's a time commitment and that you'll need to complete a actual project towards fulfilling the course requirements.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ari, for sharing your story. Does anyone, I'm going to have Ari stay on. If anyone has any questions for her from the student perspective, she'll still be available to ask. So thanks so much. And I think it really helps to hear from someone who's kind of on the front lines and knew not only what the course was like, but what the course was like to complete while you worked full time. So thank you.
Hey, Michelle,
Right.
before we
Yeah.
pass on, I'm going to try to see if I can launch that
Oh, okay. Yeah.
from my end.
I'll be patient with us. We're going to try that
Yes.
one more time because I think it'd be great for us to know how prepared people are in the project area.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm getting the same error.
Oh, okay.
But
Well-
that might be something I'll send out to everybody in the follow-up email.
Yeah.
And then I also see we have one of our phone listeners has a question. Unfortunately, I don't think I can unmute you. So
Okay.
I put my email address in the chat box for those of you who are joining us by phone. You'll get a follow-up email with my information. So I'm sorry if I'm not able to answer your question live right now, but I can definitely answer and I will send you out my email if you just contact me by email.
And I do want to emphasize that as well. We're very available. This information session is really meant to be an introduction to the course, but we know that we'll be talking with many of you individually to kind of fill in the blanks. And we'll also be mounting a lot of information on our website so that you can get the details. All right, next slide. So this program does have an application. Not all of our programs do. And that is largely to make sure that people who are enrolling really understand what this discipline, this program is about, and also to feel you out for project ideas. So the application is not long. It's basically just some biographical information about your work experience, and then asking you to talk about any project candidates you have in mind. It's a little confusing on our website, but to initiate your application, you just go ahead and hit that Enroll Now button. It will flash the cost of the program across the screen, but you don't have to pay anything now. That's just how the system works. You just continue to click through and it'll take you to the application. You complete it to the best of your ability. No right or wrong answers, just do your best. It's free, and then submit it. And then those are due by December 1st. Jen and Sonia and I will review those applications and we'll reach out to you if we have any questions. And also in the follow-up email to this info session, we'll provide our information. So if you have questions while or before you fill out the application, feel free to reach out to us. Once we get back to you and you learn about your acceptance into the program, then you would return to this webpage, hit enroll now again, and this time the system will recognize you as an approved candidate and you'll go right ahead to the enrollment screens. We do ask that everyone who has been accepted pay and enroll by February 18th. Class starts on February 23rd. So we really just want to make sure that everyone is fully enrolled. So if you are accepted, but you don't enroll, you might lose your spot. I just want to make that clear. We need to have everyone enrolled by February 23rd because Sonia is really going to hit the ground running. And we want to make sure that everyone has all the exposure to all the classes and all the opportunities to be on track. All right. So this is pretty much wraps up our formal content. So before we move to Q&A, I just wanted to take a moment to kind of, hopefully this poll will work, and ask you folks if you found the information session useful. This just helps us as we develop our outreach efforts and make sure that we're giving you the information you need. So let's see if
I'm sorry,
Jen-
Michelle, but that one is
No?
not working as
Okay.
well. It's
No
some kind of
worries.
internal thing,
Yeah,
maybe within our platform that's
Okay.
failing to launch it. So
no problem.
apologize for that.
It's, yeah, really just kind of a feedback thing, but you can always email me too if you have suggestions for a future or if there's anything you really felt was missing. So we can go ahead to the next slide. So this is really a chance for Q&A because I know that all of you come from different backgrounds and we're obviously not gonna be able to cover everything you want to know. I did want to highlight a few common questions that have come up. One is the cost of the program. So the program does cost $2,495. Our policy at Continuing Education is that you pay for courses when you enroll. The course is 14 weeks. And we do offer a variety of discounts. So the good news is just for attending this information session, you are eligible for $100 off your enrollment. And that information will be included in the follow-up email we send. So be sure to check that out. We also have a 10% group discount if you have people at your organization who want to enroll together. It's 3 or more, and you'll want to enroll at the same time. So in that case, after your applications are approved, you probably will want to call student services to enroll by phone. And that's often what organizations do anyway, because their payment is often a purchase order or a check. So it's just easier to do by phone. We also offer a discount for UC Davis staff and a Cal Aggie alumni discount. Probably the most important thing about our discounts is they cannot be combined. So as you enroll for the program and get prepared to pay, you're going to want to identify the best discount. We talked a little bit about the policy for missed classes. Some folks asked about that. So let me go ahead and see what questions we have queued up.
We just had one that someone asked, how long is the green belt good for, a year, etc.
Ah, that's an excellent question. Sonia, is that something you can answer?
Oh, well, is it, if they're talking about the badge, I think that
Yes.
I don't know anything about the badge.
Okay, we'll
can't
find out. We'll get you an answer to that question. I think it could be indefinitely, but I'll want to confirm that. And then I also had a question that I wanted to have Sonia answer live because I think it could apply to other people. So someone asked, can this be applied to health policy? I'm interested, but I don't work with products or the pipeline per se. I work with health systems. I think this absolutely could be applicable. Sonia, do you want to talk a little bit to that?
Sure. So Heather, great question. So what first came to my mind was variation. No matter where you work, we tend to fall into, we find processes or just situations, work environments where there's variation, where things aren't, there are no systems, or there's a lack of structure. There's just having that variation creates waste. And so one of the concepts that you're going to be learning, that people learn in this, students learn in this course, is how to identify waste in any industry, in any process. And so waste, things like waiting, things like, taking longer to do something when it's not necessary, not tapping into resources or underutilizing resources, or having the wrong resources work on the wrong task. So there's lots of different concepts that are applicable to any industry. So I would say definitely it should be applicable to your industry as well. And you mentioned you work in healthcare, and that is actually my background. So it absolutely 100% can be applied to healthcare. And pretty much I have not personally seen it not being applicable unless you're in an environment where everything is lean, it's efficient, you have 100% productivity and you really don't have a lot of waste. Maybe there's not a whole lot of room for you to make further improvements. But in my experience, most organizations have lots of room for improvement.
Okay, great. So someone else has a very specific question. Says the course sounds more like a yellow belt level than green belt since there's no focus on statistics or hypothesis testing. I'm curious how the analyze phase is addressed without using statistical tools.
Yeah, so data is definitely important. So we will be looking at data. We want to make sure that there is baseline data available. Where we cover metrics, measures of success. So you'll identify at least minimum of one measure of success, and it has to be something that you can measure pre and post. So we will definitely be looking at data and looking at and analyzing your data. We just won't be running any statistical models or any kind of statistical analyses, but we definitely will be measuring your improvements.
So Brock also asked about the control phase and are there instructions on the use of control charts to monitor these processes?
So we cover it. We do cover it briefly, but it's not something that is we go heavily into. But we do cover it just so that you have an overview of what it means for a process to be in control. But it's not something that because this class is 3 months long, most likely you will not have enough data for us to get to a point where you are running control charts or you're able to create control charts. But it is something that you'll cover, you'll learn it in class, and you might be able to apply it once the class is over.
So, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I know just before we get to the bottom of the list, I know we might have missed one if someone was asking what's the prerequisite to get accepted. Do they need to show their white belt or green belt certification badge to enroll?
Yeah, there is no prerequisite for this this program. The application really serves for us to learn a little bit more about your experience and familiarity with process improvement, and to also kind of get you thinking about a project that you want to use. And it's really just a way for us to get to know you better. Someone else has asked about, sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the questions. How well does this course prepare one to apply for and sit for exams from the various lean certification organizations?
So Sarah, that's a great question. There are so many different organizations out there that that provide certifications. So it's really going to be dependent. You are going to get all of the introductory, all the lean fundamental tools. You're going to learn about all the lean concepts. You're going to learn about the Six Sigma framework. So you will have all of that information, but it really depends on the organization and that you're looking to get certified from and how much they're requiring. So if it's a lean certification, I would imagine that this course should cover everything that you need to know. If you're looking for a Six Sigma certification, then you might need some additional statistical courses to get that level of experience as well.
Okay. I had a question, says, could this be applied to turnaround time for sample processing in a laboratory environment? I'm not in a management role, however, but this focus, this is the focus for our company. We have not done any detailed root cause analysis yet.
Absolutely. That is actually a perfect lean project. Turnaround time, looking at wait times, looking at how long it takes to complete, a step in a process, and then looking at how do we turn those lab tests around? How do we get this work done faster? How do we get this work done with the least amount of waste? So absolutely, that is a perfect example of what you could use this for.
Okay. Thank you, Sonia. For now, it looks like we've tackled well, maybe there's one more question. Let's see here. Nope. So I just wanted to let everyone know, I realized that for me, I always think of my best questions after I've walked away from a presentation. So I wanted to include Jen and my contact information. If you prefer to talk to someone by phone, you can also reach out to our student services team. They can try to answer your questions, especially if it's about things like enrollment or the application or payment, or they can refer you to us. This information will also be in the follow-up email that we're going to send within the week to all of you, and that'll have all kinds of additional information to help guide you. Bridget, if you'll go ahead and go to the last slide. I just wanted to leave you with thanks and also guidance on next steps. So you can either reach out to us to answer any of the questions you have, but if you feel like you have the information you need, I really encourage you to spend the next few weeks working on your application and perhaps working with your employer to make sure that you have the resources, both time and financial, to complete this program. As I mentioned, the initial application deadline is December 1st. Always feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, or if you're, as that date approaches, you're struggling. And then class starts on February 23rd. And as I mentioned, we just want to have everyone lined up by the time class starts so that everyone is on board and doesn't miss out. I want to thank our speakers and participants today, Sonia and Ari and Jen and Bridget for running tech. Anything you folks want to add before we close out?
I'll just be sending, I think I mentioned for some of the people that might have joined later, I'll be sending up a follow-up email the next day or so with some of the information. I know people were asking about slides, and I know there was, like I said, someone on the phone who had a question, but again, we will also send you an email with our contact information as well.
And your discount coupon.
Yes, yes. And thank you for your patience, everybody, with our technical difficulties today.
Oh yeah, no worries. We'll learn more about you as the process goes on. All right, thanks so much. And we left you a whopping 15 minutes for lunch. So everyone have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.